You're not disciplined. You're scared to stop. You're up at 4:30, grinding through some routine, skipping meals, wearing your exhaustion like a medal, telling yourself, just push through it. I said that every day for 60 years, nearly killed me, not in combat. In a quiet house with nobody left in it. My name is William Crenshaw, 89 years old, retired 3-star lieutenant general, United States Army. 38 years, 2 wars, 40,000 troops under my command, lost my first wife, almost lost my son, lived inside my own head like a prison for decades, and I didn't learn the most important thing about discipline until I was 72 years old, sitting in a VA hospital in Clarksville, Tennessee, talking to a man with no legs. That's the one I need to tell you about, but not yet. I'm going to try to save you about 40 years of pain in the next few minutes, if you let me, or maybe you'll be smarter than I was. Lord, I hope so. You say it to yourself, don't you? Just push through it. I know you do, because I said it every day, every deployment, every time my wife looked at me with those eyes begging me to just be there. I pushed through it every single time. Pushed through the tiredness instead of sleeping. Pushed through the argument instead of listening. Pushed through the grief instead of crying. Pushed through the loneliness instead of reaching out. And I was proud. God help me. I was proud. I built a career that could crush granite. You know what I had at the end of it? A medal of distinguished service and a son who shook my hand instead of hugging me. My boy shook my hand, not his daddy, his commanding officer. Look, discipline without feeling, that's a cage you build from the inside. You lock yourself in, throw away the key, and call it strength. Let me tell you where this started, because it didn't come from the Army. It came from a dirt road in Alabama and a man who never said, I love you, not once. Colbert County, Alabama, 1942. My daddy, Robert Crenshaw, a sharecropper. Mama passed when I was 6, just me and him in a one-room house with a kerosene lantern and red clay that stuck to everything after the rain. I'll tell you something about my father. He truly believed that softness would get a black boy killed in the Jim Crow South. And maybe he was right about the world back then. But the way he taught that lesson, Lord, his hands were hard as tree bark. I don't mean that poetic. If you touched his palms, they felt like wood. 30 years of picking cotton did that. And those hands taught me discipline the only way he knew how. I can still hear that belt pulled through the loops. Slow hiss, then a snap. At 14, standing in a cotton field, sweat burning my eyes, I made a vow right there with the red Alabama clay under my boots and kerosene still in my clothes from the night before. I said, I will never be soft. I will never be weak. I will push through everything. And I did. Every bit of it. Skipped my best friend's wedding for officer training. Miss Tommy's birth, I was at Fort Bragg running a field exercise. Didn't cry at my own daddy's funeral in 78. Not one tear. 1990, they pinned that first star on me. Brigadier General. By 91, I'm commanding a brigade in Desert Storm. I made it, and I felt nothing. Standing in that command tent in Saudi Arabia. Nothing. But here's the part that gets me. The part I can barely talk about. March 1991. MacDill Air Force Base, Florida. I walked through the front door in my dress uniform, and there's my boy Tommy in the hallway, 8 years old, little blue polo shirt tucked into khakis. Helen, my wife, standing right behind him. Tommy steps forward. He doesn't run to me, doesn't reach up for a hug. This 8-year-old boy extends his right hand and says, welcome home, sir. And I shook it. Firm grip, looked him right in the eye, and I felt proud. Proud that my boy already knew how to be a man at 8 years old. I didn't know I was looking at the damage. I thought I was looking at the result. The last time I ever saw my father alive, he tried to tell me something. His lips moved, and I'll get to that. Stay with me. It took me 30 years to understand what happened in that hallway. 30 years. I could command 40,000 troops across a desert, but I couldn't read what my own boy was telling me. He wasn't showing me strength. He was showing me he'd already learned to hide, just like I did, just like my daddy taught me without even meaning to. I wasn't building discipline all those years. I was building armor, and I got so good at wearing it, I couldn't take it off. Not for my wife, not for my boy, not for myself. And you want to know what I was really chasing? It wasn't excellence. It wasn't duty. It was my father's approval from a man who'd been in the ground for decades. I was still that boy in the cotton field trying to be hard enough for a daddy who never learned how to be soft himself. 21,000 days. That's roughly 60 years. I pushed through every single one. You know what was on the other side? Nothing. Because I was pushing through the good stuff, the love, the moments, the softness. I was pushing through my own damn life and calling it strength. Now, there was a man, I met him when I was 72, who showed me what discipline really means. I'll get to him, but it didn't just show up in my career. It destroyed something else too. The one person who stayed longer than she ever should have, Helen Ridley. Met her at a USO dance in Columbus, Georgia, 1962. Married her the next year. School teacher, warm like sunlight, patient as stone, and I did the same thing to her. I did to everything good in my life. I provided, I protected, I deployed. I came home and inspected our household like it was a forward operating base. I didn't ask how she was doing. I asked what needed fixing. Helen stayed 26 years. Think about that. 26 years of waiting for a man to sit down. She left in '89, 2 years before Desert Storm. I'm going to be real with you. The night she left, I can still see it. She's standing at the front door with one suitcase. 26 years, and all of it fit in one suitcase. And her voice was so steady it scared me. She said, "I don't need a general, Bill. I just need you to sit down with me. Just sit. That's all I ever wanted." And you know what I did? I stood at attention in my own living room while my wife walked out the door. She married a high school baseball coach named Jerry about 6 months later, and I heard she laughed every day, every single day. Providing is not presence. You hear me? You can give someone everything and still give them nothing. I pushed through my marriage, right out the other side. Can I tell you something? I wasn't the only one who ended up like this. Not by a long shot. Let me tell you about a man named Colonel Gerald Watts. Everybody called him Jerry, 74 years old, retired, living in a 5-bedroom house out in McLean, Virginia, all by himself. 3 ex-wives. Got a liquor cabinet the size of a bedroom closet and a housekeeper, and she's the only soul who sees him every week. And here's the part that'll break your heart. Jerry still calls his old AD camp at 2 in the morning to give briefings about nothing. Just talking, just filling up the quiet. Man can't sit in a room with himself for 5 minutes. Jerry never stopped pushing. He just ran out of things to push against, so he started pushing people away. Then there was Dennis, Staff Sergeant Dennis Pruitt, served under me. Good soldier, great soldier. After he retired, he couldn't stop. Took contractor gigs, 80-hour weeks at a private military firm outside Washington. He passed away at his desk in 2004, 61 years old. There was a half-eaten turkey sandwich next to his keyboard. Nobody noticed for 4 hours. 4 hours. Dennis didn't go at 61. He was gone the day he retired and didn't know who he was without the mission. And then there was Elmer Tate. 91 when I met him, 2006 at the VA Hospital in Clarksville, Tennessee. Korean War vet. Lost both legs below the knee at Chosin Reservoir in 1950. Living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Growing tomatoes on his windowsill. Had a little cat named Roosevelt. And I'll tell you something, that man laughed more. Big belly laughs. More than any man I'd known in 60 years of soldiering. I sat with him one afternoon and I couldn't help it. I said, "Elmer, how in the hell are you this peaceful after everything you lost?" And he said, "Son, the hardest thing a strong man will ever do is sit still long enough to hear his own heart. That ain't weakness. That's the mission." I'm telling you right now, that one sentence did more for me than 38 years of military training. It cracked something open in me that I'd spent my whole life cementing shut. The morning after I met Elmer, I woke up in my apartment and I couldn't get out of bed, not because I was sick, because something inside me had finally cracked. I'll get to that. Now I want to tell you something about discipline that most people, most smart, driven, successful people get completely, dangerously wrong. You want to know what real discipline is? After 38 years of the toughest training on earth, I'll tell you, it ain't making yourself do hard things. Well, anybody can do hard things when they're scared enough. Fear is one heck of a motivator. I mean, shoot, I ran toward gunfire. That's not discipline. That's adrenaline and training. Real discipline? Real discipline is making yourself stop. Stop performing. Stop grinding. Stop running. Sit in the silence. Feel what you've been numbing. Let somebody see you without your armor on. Here's the thing. I know a man worth $40 million who hasn't eaten a single meal without checking his phone in 11 years. He's in a prison. Fancy prison. Nice walls. But a prison. And I knew a man with no legs who grew tomatoes and talked to his cat and passed away at 93 with a smile still on his face. He was free. Real discipline isn't making yourself do hard things. It's making yourself stop long enough to feel what you've been running from. That's the secret. That's the whole thing. And it took me 72 years and a man with no legs to learn it. You can be the most disciplined person in the room and still be the most lost. I was living proof. But here's what nobody tells you even after you know the secret. There's a trap. And it almost got me. I need to warn you about it. Here's the trap nobody warned you about. After I met Elmer, I went all in. That's what guys like me do, right? I read the books, started meditating, journaling, the whole nine. And within 3 months, I'm not making this up, I turned stillness into a grind. I was meditating 2 hours a day. Had a schedule on the wall, had metrics. I was pushing through meditation like it was a field march, scheduling peace like a combat operation. I was just pushing through it. Again, same engine. New paint job. You understand how messed up that is? I was just pushing through peace. Then came that morning, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 2007, woke up in my apartment, and I could not get out of bed. Not sick, something deeper. Something that had been buried under 65 years of concrete finally broke through the surface. I lay there for 6 hours, and I cried, not for Helen, not for Tommy, not for the soldiers I lost in the desert. For the boy, the 14-year-old boy standing in a cotton field in Alabama who decided all by himself, with nobody to help him, that he could never, ever be soft. I cried for that boy. Nobody else ever had. Not even me. Not in 65 years. The fear doesn't leave when your life gets better. The hunger doesn't go away when you achieve more. It leaves when you change, when you stop running. You can't push through it. You gotta sit in it. That's an inside job. And here's what it all comes down to. If you hear nothing else, I say nothing, hear this. My whole life, every rank, every commendation, every 4:30 alarm, all of it was chasing one thing: worthiness. I was trying to earn the right to be alive, to be loved, to take up space on this earth. I was looking for my daddy's approval in every commanding officer, every mission, every salute. I was still that boy trying to be hard enough for a man who didn't know how to be soft. I need to tell you something now, something I've been holding. 1978, County Hospital, Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I drove 12 hours to get there. My daddy, Robert Crenshaw, 71 years old, barely conscious. And I stood at the foot of that bed, at attention. Of course I did. He reached out his hand, those bark-hard hands, and his lips moved. He was trying to say something, but no sound came, and then he was gone. I don't know what he was trying to say. I've spent 45 years hoping it was, "I love you," and 45 years terrified it wasn't. But here's what Elmer taught me. It doesn't matter, because I can say it to myself. I can give that boy in the cotton field what nobody else gave him. I didn't need to earn it. I never needed to earn it. Being alive was enough. Being here was enough. But nobody told that boy. So I'm telling him now, every morning. I'm 89 years old and I still have to tell myself I'm enough out loud every single morning. And that ain't failure. That's the discipline, the real one. So the next time you hear that voice, and you will hear it tonight, tomorrow, next week, the next time it says, just push through it. I want you to stop, dead stop, and ask yourself one question. Am I pushing towards something? Or am I pushing away from something I'm scared to feel? Because there's a difference, and that difference will cost you everything if you don't catch it. This is it, right now. This is your life. Not the one you're grinding toward, not the one on the other side of the next promotion, the next goal, the next 4:30 alarm. This one, right here, the one happening while you're watching this in the dark on your phone. And I'll tell you something. Here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Not next week, tonight. Sit in a chair for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no podcast, no task. Just sit. And if something comes up, sadness, anger, that voice telling you should be doing something, don't push through it. Sit in it. Let it come. Whatever it is, let it come. That'll be the hardest thing you do all day. And that's exactly how you know it's the right thing. And if it gets to be too much, pick up the phone and call someone. Not about work, not to fix a problem. Call them and say, I just wanted to hear your voice. That right there, that's strength. That's the real mission. Just push through it. I'm 89 years old and I'm telling you with everything I got left, don't. Just don't. You are enough. Right now. Not when you finish. Not when you prove it. Not after the next win. Now. You hear me? You don't have to earn it. You never did. I spent 89 years learning that. Don't you spend that long? Now, if you know somebody who's grinding themselves into dust right now, someone who's up at 4 a.m. working till they can't see straight, calling it discipline, calling it hustle, someone who hasn't sat still in so long they've forgotten what their own heartbeat sounds like, send this to them. They ain't gonna ask for help. People like us, we don't know how, so you gotta bring it to them. You gotta be the one. And I wanna ask you something before you go. In the comments, tell me what are you pushing through right now that you might need to sit with instead. You don't gotta write a whole story. Just name the thing. One word is enough. I'll read it. And if old Bill got through to you today, if any of this landed, stick around, hit subscribe. I ain't done talking yet.